prolonged amount of time. They have such a great offensive line, and it's going to be interesting. And you went ahead and picked Oregon, right?
Oh yeah, I'm taking Oregon in this game, 45 to 35.
Yeah, I think Oregon wins by 2 possessions at least. I don't. I'm going to say 42 to 28. I think it's going to be one of those games where Oregon's going to get out to a good start and then maybe stall a little bit in Florida State. You're going to think they're going to come back as usual, but then I think Marcus Mariota and this team and this offense will just get back to going again. And it's either going to be that kind of game or it's going to be a game where both teams are going to come out shaky and it's going to end up being like a 21 or 28-21 ball game. You can't. That's the thing about these sort of games. Everybody expects it to be up in the 40s, but it's one of those games that has the makings of being one that's won by the first team that gets to 30 as well.
Yeah, and this Florida State team with Jameis Winston taking the reins. I think the biggest thing is for them to win it, for them to have a chance to win this game. Rashad Green, senior receiver. I think he's going to have probably the best game of his college career. I think he's just going to have to get open. Jameis has got to hit him. And, the running back, Dalvin Cook, who in the Georgia Tech game ran the ball 31 times for 177 yards with a TD. So they're going to have to get the run game going. Jameis is going to have to probably have the best game of his college career to win this game. But I think this Oregon team is too good, and I think Oregon wins this game against Florida State.
Yeah, Florida State's had a dream the last couple of years. They hadn't lost in about 30 games, so they've been off to what they've done is pretty impressive, and I wouldn't be surprised if they moved on, but I'm picking Oregon as well. Another keynote for Oregon before we move on to the next game. Points against, Oregon's only allowing 22.5 points against on their defensive side of the ball, so that defense is kind of underrated when we talk about Oregon. So that's going to be an interesting thing, but with 4 minutes to go in this segment, let's go ahead and jump and quickly cover the Alabama-Ohio State game when Urban Meyer brings his Buckeyes into the Sugar Bowl to face off with Nick Saban and the Tide.
Well, the biggest thing I see, I've seen Lane Kiffin being the offensive coordinator. I think he's done a great job at Alabama. He's made the right play calls. And, with Alabama, he has Amari Cooper, Derrick Henry, TJ Yeldon, Blake Sims. I mean, there's just a complete team. Their defense, Landon Collins, who was an All-American this year, safety. This Alabama team is, they lost that game in Oxford to Ole Miss 23-17. And then they beat Arkansas the next week 14-13. Arkansas had missed an extra point, so it could have been a tie game going to overtime in that game. And there was speculation of, is this Alabama team not as good as everyone thought they were going to be? Is the dynasty maybe out? But no, this Alabama team turned around after that Arkansas game, blowing out A&M 59-0. They beat LSU in Baton Rouge. They beat Mississippi State when they were the number one team in the country. They beat Auburn. They killed Missouri in the SEC championship game. So this Alabama team, I think, is very complete, and I think they're going to win this game against Ohio State 35-28.
Yeah, I think Bama wins this one as well. I think all the keys that you said are some of the reasons. Blake Sims and this emerging offense with what Lane Kiffin's been able to do, it's impressive. And if you got to see Lane Kiffin during the award ceremony for the Assistant Coach of the Year, he was one of the finalists for the Broyles Award for the Assistant Coach of the Year, and he was making jokes about Nick Saban telling him that he wanted him to run the ball a little bit more, but we know that Lane has been known to throw off the play action, so it's good to see somebody sort of open up that tight offense. It seemed like it was just like really just so based on the run that sometimes it was a little bit predictable, but now Lane has really done a good job at finding pressure points. I think we hear this. Gary Danielson talks about it on CBS a lot. Finding a pressure point and playing to that strength. He makes a team play so hard to cover Amari Cooper that it opens up other facets of the game. And if they don't guard Cooper, that's who he's going to go to. That's your go-to guy. He's going to be the guy at the next level. It's going to be a great player as well. But he does a good job of keeping that pressure point on opposing teams and taking advantage of it. And like what I said, how could Kiffin not do anything bad in this offense? He's got so many toys to play with. He's got so much talent to distribute around the field, that it's an offensive coordinator's dream to step into what he's been able to control.
And, with something big I kind of saw after these Auburn and Missouri games, there was this thing kind of going viral with Lane Kiffin. He was calling his shot, saying it was a touchdown before they even play. Blake Sims had even thrown the pass down the field to Amari Cooper.
He's a prophet. I think the people in Knoxville know he's not. But here before this segment ends, the people in Knoxville love him for what he did to the Vols. But 30 seconds left in this segment. I'll go ahead and give my score. I think Bama wins it. I've got them 35-21 by 2 TDs. So with that, we're going to go ahead. We'll be right back. We're going to go to our quick picks, talking about some of the bowl games around the Southeastern Conference and other notable bowl games around the country. We'll be right back. This Grove Radio segment is brought to you by Beware Fitness. Sign up today for personal video training with former Ole Miss linebacker Cassius Ware. For more information, email Cassius at bewarefitness.com. Beware Fitness. Keep moving. A premier sponsor of Grove Radio. Welcome back to the SEC Today Bowl Preview Special. We're not quite on the radio waves, but we're slowly making our way there, Hunter.
Oh, definitely. And, we'll be on there at the end of January, and the show I think is going to take off, and it's going to be doing good things there. So,
yeah, January 26th at 4 p.m. You get to listen to our voices for all the time you want there for 2 hours every day of the week. So hopefully you'll tune in once the time comes. But right now we've got some quick picks coming up, starting with the Duck Commander Independence Bowl in Shreveport, Louisiana at Independence Stadium. December 27th, it's coming up here, 3:30 p.m. on ABC. It's not one of your desirable bowl games, but it's got a kind of a tasty matchup between an upstart Miami team with Al Golden, Duke Johnson in that rushing game. Some great linebacker play in Denzel Perryman and all those guys for Miami coming out of the ACC. Looking back over to the other side, of South Carolina team that has done everything that we didn't think they would do this year. A lot of people had them chosen to win the Southeastern Conference's East Division, but as we've seen, a 6-6 record doesn't win the East. It about did this year, but it didn't win the East. Go ahead and give me your pick, Hunter, on the Duck Commander Independence Bowl.
Well, I think with Brad Kaya and Duke Johnson's rushed for over 1,500 yards this year. Brad Kaya has thrown for almost 3,000 yards this year with 25 TDs. Duke Johnson's rushed for 10 TDs. And the South Carolina team, they got blown up by A&M in the first game of the season. They've just been kind of inconsistent over the year. They finished 6-6, but I think this Miami team, I think they're ready to play, and I think Miami wins this game 28-21 over South Carolina.
Yeah, see, I'm going to differ with you here. I think South Carolina gets a win. I think Steve Spurrier gets a much-needed win. He's been under a lot of criticism this week for saying that he was going to stick around and not retire for another 2 to 3 years. And you can imagine the impact that's made on the recruiting standpoint. He's already had 3 or 4 recruits decommit from the University of South Carolina. But I think South Carolina gets it done in the Independence Bowl. I think Dillon Thompson wants to end this thing on the right note. This defense has talent. They just haven't showed it. Lorenzo Ward and this defense, they've been there through the thick and thin. We used to talk about this South Carolina defense, and people were scared of them. What's happened to that team? So I think South Carolina wins this game by 3 points. I've got to win it 31-28. When you look at the games they've lost, their defense is just totally unwound. Let's move on to a game here, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl in Memphis, Tennessee. It's got a pretty good matchup with it. Texas A&M versus Dana Holgorsen and the West Virginia Mountaineers, a team that you don't know what you can expect from week to week there with Clint Trickett at quarterback. December 29th, 2 p.m. from Memphis on ESPN. What do you got for this game?
Well, the biggest thing I'm looking at for this Texas A&M game is Texas A&M now, Kenny Hill started the year being quarterback for them, was benched, switched out with Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen won his first start against it was his second start he won against Auburn, at Auburn. And but this A&M team, I don't think they're very complete. They're very young. Speedy Noel, who's one of the top, he was a very good receiver in the SEC this year, true freshman. Kyle Allen, who's the quarterback there, is a true freshman. They're just a very young team, but I think this West Virginia team, I think they can show out and win this game. I take West Virginia in this game over Texas A&M, 35-21. I think they're going to win by actually a big margin. I don't think this Texas A&M team is going to come out and think they're going to get 3 TDs, and that's about it.
Yeah, I've got West Virginia too, and I've got them by the same margin. Except for I've got West Virginia 45-31, so a little bit higher scoring game there in Memphis. But I think West Virginia gets a win. That's a big win against an SEC opponent, even though they're not the best. A big win for a West Virginia program. Now, and let's move on a little bit here to the Advocare V100 Texas Bowl, Arkansas versus Texas, an old Southwest District matchup, conference matchup. Houston, it's in Houston at NRG Stadium, December 29th at 9 p.m. on ESPN. And I'll go ahead and make my pick. I have Arkansas. I think this running game and Brett Bielema has instilled this program into this program. I think they get the win. They've had some key major victories this year. We're 1 point away, an extra point away from at least being tied with the University of Alabama. And who would have known what would have happened in overtime? I've got Arkansas in this game, and I think that overpowering rushing attack gets them a win. I think Texas makes mistakes. I've got Arkansas winning this game 31-14.
I agree with you on that. I think Alex Collins will run the ball down Texas's throat, and I think Arkansas wins this game 28-14. So
lower scoring there, but by 2 touchdowns nonetheless. Let's move on to Nashville, Tennessee, another pretty good matchup. Notre Dame versus LSU in the Music City Bowl, 3 p.m. on December 30th, airing on ESPN. Notre Dame, LSU, I have LSU. Notre Dame has committed turnover after turnover in these last 5 games. LSU takes advantage of that. Leonard Fournette has a big night setting up LSU for a great season coming up in 2015. I think LSU is going to be that team next year that we're talking about at the start of the season. I've got LSU in that game.
Oh, I'm taking LSU in that game as well. I think this LSU team is young, but they're only going to keep getting better. I think Leonard Fournette is maybe a Heisman contender in the next 1 or 2 years. So I think I've got LSU in this game as well over Notre Dame. I'll take the score 35 to let's go 17, 35-17 LSU over Notre Dame.
All right, LSU, both of us. Belk Bowl, Georgia, Louisville, Charlotte, North Carolina. Bank of America Stadium, 6:30, December 30th on ESPN. I have the Dogs. I think Bulldogs get it done. I think Nick Chubb in this rushing attack, and I think Hudson Mason makes some passes. When you look at the way this season's been for Mark Richt in Georgia, it hasn't went well, but I think they finished it on a high note against their former defensive coordinator, Todd Grantham. I've got the Dogs in this one, 31-21 in Charlotte.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that. I think I've got Georgia winning this game over Louisville, too. I think Nick Chubb, he was a monster this year coming out of nowhere. Nick Chubb just stepped up in the running back position, and he also could be a Heisman contender in the next 1 or 2 years. So I've got Georgia in this game as well. I've got the score 21-14, Georgia over Louisville.
It'll be a good game there. I think it's an underrated football game. Let's put our foot to the pedal here. We've got 3 minutes left here in this segment. Capital One Orange Bowl, number 7, Mississippi State travels to Miami Gardens, Florida to take on number 12, Georgia Tech, December 30th at 8 p.m. on ESPN. Very important game for State. I have Mississippi State winning this ball game. Georgia Tech's too one-dimensional. Dak Prescott will get back in his natural form. They'll get back in to their tempo. I think Ole Miss threw them off. I've got Mississippi State in this one.
All right, I'm going to go against you with you on this one. I think Georgia Tech's got this game with triple option offense. I think they're going to beat this Mississippi State team.
All right, we differ on that one. That'll be a fun one to sort of see what happens. Outback Bowl, it's always fun when we see Georgia Tech play. You don't know how the matchup's going to be. Outback Bowl, Auburn versus Wisconsin, Raymond James Stadium, Tampa, Florida, noon kickoff on ESPN2. Quick pick, I've got Auburn.
I'm taking Auburn in this game as well. Nick Marshall and Cameron Artis-Payne is going to show out in this game. Auburn's got this game over Wisconsin, definitely.
All right, Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, another football game. Arlington, Texas, January 1st, 12:30 on ESPN. Defense versus offense. The offense is coming from number 5 Baylor. The defense, of course, is Michigan State. I have Baylor. I think Art Briles and this team will be fired up, ready to go in Arlington. That's a home field advantage. Give me the Bears.